Welcome to today's podcast. I am joined by Aisling White, who is a women's circle facilitator, meditation teacher, and birthkeeper. So, welcome, Aisling.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'd love to hear what got you started on your path and, yeah, how it all began for you.
Since I was very young, I always was fascinated with birth and babies, and was always very deep and praying and connecting to the universe, and just like always sort of naturally inclined to, yeah, to this this sort of deeper way of being or whatever. And when I was about 16 or 17, I had a bit of a breakdown, and life things happen in life to, I suppose, bring you to different points. And I left school, but I ended up doing two courses in early childhood education and care, and I worked in preschools and childcare facilities for a few years. And I always sort of had this want to be a midwife. And I even applied to go do the degree when I was like 18 or 19. Um, I don't remember whether I got in or not. I think I might have, but I just also never really wanted, like, I've always not liked hospitals or doctors. It just like naturally was not really, I mean, I know a lot of people are like that, but I didn't like the idea of working shift work and in a hospital. So that kind of turned me off that. And then a few years ago, I started working as a nanny, so looking after babies. And I was always looking into different trainings, and I at the time was going through my own spiritual awakening and healing and evolving, growing in self-awareness and therapy and different trainings and courses. And yeah, so I got into meditation when I was about 17 or 18 because I had crippling anxiety. And all these anxiety books are like, oh, just um meditate. And I was like, okay. And as per usual, most people's story with meditation is they're like, this is too hard, and like I'm not gonna do this, and how do I even sit with my mind and quiet my thoughts? And um but when I was working as a preschool teacher, I did a course called Connected Kids, with a woman called Lorraine Murray. She's Scottish. She has two beautiful books, actually. Shout out to these books, Calm Kids and Connected Kids. And it was a training to teach children and teenagers meditation. So I really felt, oh, this is really what I want to do. Let's help the next generation, and so they have skills. Um, and then COVID happened, and I was kind of starting like different. I was wanting to start doing classes with kids. And I worked with a couple of kids one to one, a few of my friends' kids, which was amazing, like sort of meditation, mindfulness activities, and emotional regulation skills. Um, yeah, and then what's next? Yeah, a couple of years ago, I was renting a space with my friend. We were holding women's circles and I was doing weekly meditation classes. And she really introduced me to Tantra, and I did a Tantra massage training. And that really was massive for me. Like, I was working with this coach actually maybe 5 years ago, and she used to say, like, have you ever looked at Tantra? Because she just said that I naturally was like kind of in like naturally inclined to kind of live in that kind of tantric way. Um, and that was amazing. And I really discovered how natural I was at. I mean, I knew I was always good at holding space. I did a counseling course as well. Um, and I had a call to really work with teenagers, and I did some online circles for teenagers actually during COVID as well on different topics, and that was great. Yeah, and then last year I did a doula training and I have been working as a nanny still and establishing that and figuring out how that will look for me. So that's pretty much a snippet of my journey.
And what kind of particularly called you to the birthing space? I know obviously you're so interested in children and supporting the next generation, but what kind of called you? I know you were mentioning the midwife training, the medical training. I'd love to hear like, yeah,
Mm.
what is the calling there? Like, what do you actually want for women and for babies? Like, what is your vision for that?
Most people, when you talk to them about working in birth, they will say, "Oh, it is just a calling. Like there's not really any reasoning. It's just this, you know." And I suppose in my support with people and meditation, my sort of mission is very much like helping people connect to what is calling them in life and what does their heart, what lights up their heart, what really is something that really excites them and lights them up. And I just always felt so drawn to birth. And I suppose what I really want after all these years of study and especially the past year, I want women to truly get to experience birth as the incredibly transformational spiritual experience that it is, and to not have that robbed from them by, you know, by not having someone like me to support them to recognize their autonomy, their power, their choice and sovereignty that they have in their life in general, but then in terms of birthing their baby. It really is a sacred rite of passage, and my work really feels it's very much about restoring ceremony and connection, like deeply connecting to life and reconnecting to the divine and the universe and honoring all these different points that we go through these thresholds in our life. And clearly birth is a massive one. Even if you're not particularly spiritual, you know, how many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, birth is a spiritual experience," and they're not even very spiritual because they can feel it, you know? Yeah.
That was certainly my experience for sure. And I never had anyone in my life that would have these conversations. Like I never even heard of these concepts that it was a sacred rite of passage or that it could be just such a beautiful ceremony. Like that's such a turning point in your life, turning into the mother, like becoming the mother and being initiated into birth. These concepts I feel now are really wanting to come into life and into the conversation and into the collective awareness around birth because it's been viewed so much through the lens of, yeah, it's just like get the baby out, whichever way, or, you know, even just through the lens of fear as well, like fear around it,
Mm,
because we haven't understood it. We
mm,
haven't understood all the different variations or the mystery of birth or, you know, the opportunity that it has for the mother and baby when it's supported, like deeply supported on all levels, you know, not just physiologically, but on all dimensions of self. So, you know, I chose to birth on my own with my partner because I didn't have a woman like you at the time in my life to kind of call upon.
mm,
Because those who I was connected to were still seeing birth through the lens of fear. And I didn't want to invite that into my space because I knew that I would, you know, pick up on that because you're so open
mm,
in the birth, especially when you're close to the transition period. Yeah, so I feel like your work and your role to restore this and to bring this wisdom and awareness back into women's lives is so important because when you know, then you can choose what feels right for you. Whereas if you don't know, you just go with like the kind of the default, which is, you know, birthing in the hospital is seen as the safest place and there isn't really room in that space for this full support to be there
right.
because it's just not the setting for it. It's the setting for emergency care, which is amazing to have that. But it's not the setting for really supporting like optimal physiological birth.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's like this is so new. Like it's only the past few years that you hear of doulas and even like birth preparation courses, and there's so many different ones out there. Um, but yeah, it's like most people want to have a natural birth, they say, and most people want to feel fulfilled in their life and feel powerful in their life, and going through this threshold, this initiation into becoming a mother and a parent is just so massive. And there is not structures in our society that are really that supportive to this. Like society in general is very disconnected from life, disconnected from the divine, disconnected from the body. So all of my work is about connecting back to that place and to the intuition, and we need people that are here to help us and hold our hand and show us what is possible, show us what is available. Because a lot of women don't know what is possible because they are just following that default. And they're also, if they've never taken any time to sit with themselves, to practice meditation, to connect deeper to life, to their body, to themselves, to what feels true for them and what their true heart's desires are, then they are being robbed of what they could experience. And everyone's on their own journey, but we know that through meditation, through healing and becoming whole and reconnecting to God, the universe, to our soul, how profound that is and how your life shifts and changes. And I guess like through my own journey of like everything I went through as a young person, it really it brought me to the realization of how important it is. Like two words when I started my business, I was about 18, were expression and creation. And these were the words that like really came strongly to me. And we need to express what's within us and then create from there and create our life from like the depth of us, what is calling us, what feels right for us. And if we don't have supports or people that we can call on to be a guide to us, like mentors, people that have walked the path before us, then like we never can. I mean, obviously you can do your own work by yourself, but having people that like you can look up to that inspire you is essential, really, I think.
Hmm. It is, yeah. Yeah. If I look at my own journey, it's like I was only able to step into what I've been able to step into because there've been those ahead of me that I have been able to, who have been lighthouses for me. And I think this whole new way that we are creating and restoring wholeness back to life, like it has to be a co-creation. Like we can't do it like on our own as isolations because like we are nature, and like nature, it thrives as an ecosystem. And we need each other. And it's like I think we have healing to be done around that. And that's where, like the women's circle work is so important, that we can come together now in sisterhood and we can learn to trust each other and learn to collaborate with each other and learn to see the unity in our diversity, that we don't all have to be the same, that we're all at different stages and that we're all at, in different seasons of our lives. And but we offer so much richness to each other, and so much, as you say, that depth can actually be expressed in these spaces. And so I feel like, yeah, the work that you're doing is so beautiful because you're offering those spaces at the various kind of touch points that are there for women in, in the different seasons of their lives. And it's such important work, and it's so new for so many women
Yeah.
to tune into this. It's so new. So it's like it's lovely that you have the various ways that women can get to know you and enter into your offerings
And it's so interesting, the women that come to the women's circles, because most of them have, like, we share our intention at the beginning, and most of them are like, I just want to be with other women and I want to have a nice time, like in community. Like it's very like simple
hmm
and it makes so much sense. But then, I just notice people are so, we don't really live in a world where our authenticity is really welcomed in a sense, like, or we're afraid. We have these different um like social norms of what's appropriate to share and blah blah blah. And it's so beautiful to get to experience women opening up and like slowly freeing themselves, and they can come to the space and bring anything. Sometimes there's a theme, but I just feel so grateful that I get to experience that. And I think as human beings, one of the most beautiful things that makes life worth living is being in the presence of others and being able to watch someone blossom and bloom and to actually be who they truly are meant to be, who they are.
hmm
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and so for you, facilitating that space is such a important thing. And I've been sending women to you, and like I'm like, if you're in around the area, please check out Ashling's Women's Circle because they are pure magic, and um,
I have a
you
heart.
you have a harp as well, so you bring music and everything into it because you are also a music teacher.
Mm.
Yeah, so you've got many strings to your bow.
Yes, I don't have a violin right now, but I am going to get one soon. So it's funny
Oh
that
wow.
I did learn the violin when I was younger,
Okay.
um, but I really want to get another one now. So who knows?
Yeah.
Could be all the instruments.
Oh, really
Mm.
cool.
Yeah.
But it's really like all the feminine healing arts. That's really what you're embodying and offering as a unique medicine for the world because this is the soothing balm that women now need more than ever because we're now in a feminine based reality. So it's like the soul and the body are now coming back together in sacred union. And that union has to be facilitated, and these spaces need to be created for us to heal, to let go of the tension and the fear and the holding that we've had that that life is separate from us. We're really coming out of that. So I feel like everything that you're doing is just like so perfectly designed for this process to unfold through us. And yeah, you're such a gift to the world, and like you're so young to be on your path and to be so clear in who you are. So it's like, yeah, you're just brought here for this very reason. And I think it's to really to see and to acknowledge that and to appreciate that and to really receive that for yourself first and foremost. Because I think as women, we've been so conditioned to abandon the self and to,
Mm.
to be kind of living almost outside of our body.
Mm.
So it's really like this whole entrainment that you're creating for yourself and for other women who are drawn into your field and are here to co-create with you because we're all holding these kind of feelings of like, is this just like a personal flaw? Like, do I just have these issues? But it's like when we actually come together, we realize, no, 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 no. This is because, life hasn't been fully supportive of our true feminine essence. And now we get to create that. Like that's why it's a whole new time, a whole new era. And I remember when I was born, and my mom was nurturing this in me since I was born, so it's like it's only now kind of coming into like full expression. And I remember she had our astrology chart read when I was 4 and she was like in her late 20s. And she didn't give me this tape until I was 29 to listen to because she didn't want to interfere with my life's choosings. She wanted me to just like go on my own path and she didn't want to impose any presupposed ideas about who I am. So I listened to that tape, and and she was in the recording. She was saying, she said, "Ashing is here to be a teacher of the new way or the new paradigm." And I remember hearing that and kind of going, oh my gosh, like this seems so big and so so daunting.
Mm,
And now what I've come to, many years later, almost 10 years later, I'm seeing it's like, it's not about me or any one of us just doing this on our own. It's actually about us stepping up, and expressing and then finding each other. And we're here to co-create together. We're here to co-create these new systems, these new like natural ecosystems of flourishing and of support, because that's what we're here to restore to life. And I think when we enter into that co-creative dance with each other and with life, and in these spaces of women's circles and, really kind of coming into who we are,
mm.
that we can feel that holding, that it's not like that burdensome pressure that we have to do it on our own. And I think that then translates even into the birthing space, like with your role as a birth keeper, that it's like it doesn't have to be scary or daunting, because you can be fully supported, you can be fully witnessed and tended to, with full reverence and
Yeah, safety.
full safety. Yeah, that it's like you get to be held at that level. But yeah, it's a journey for us, isn't it? It's a journey for restoring all of this.
Yeah. I was just thinking there about how a child, how a child learns about themselves is what their parent is reflecting back to them. And like we know we don't lose that when we grow up. We still need that. We need others to see us. We need to be reflected back, So like with in terms of working as a birth keeper, like your role is really to be there as a sister and be reflecting back to that woman, her capacity, her strength, her divine design to birth her baby. And, the fear paradigm is, I can't do this. What's happening to me? This is so like, and obviously there's moments like that because the mind that comes up, but having like strong, stable people to like really anchor in and keep grounding you and reminding you and like I just think we need that. Yeah, don't they say like birth is like a microcosm of like the macrocosm? Am I saying
Mm-hmm.
that wrong?
Yeah, yeah,
Something like that.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And like we need that in our life as well. So like having women's circles, having different spaces for community, it's just so essential, and like you were saying as well, like we don't heal alone and like it's so true. There's only so much healing you can do by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like my healing and my evolution and deepening of understanding of myself and what it means to be here drastically like improved, or what would be the word, became easier once I found tribe and community and true like authentic friendships and circles that I can like be seen, being seen, heard
Mm-hmm.
and understood is a need. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with the kind of, the path that a lot of us have taken in terms of like individuating from the old ways and maybe our families of origin, and there's been like periods of time of like isolation in that and kind of feeling on your own. And I set up my women's circle here in Kerry last year, and just inviting women into my space, and I'm continuing to do that, and realizing that actually we are all going through very similar experiences. And when we are together, it's like we just remind each other of our wholeness. It reattunes us back to that it's like, yes, all these, symptoms of maybe anxiety or feeling like overwhelmed by life is because it's been a natural response to how life has been. Like it's been a natural response to not being supported, not being seen, because the feminine in all of us hasn't been supported, up to very recently. It's now only, it's just this emerging time that we're all remembering this. And
I wonder,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you, but I wonder,
yeah,
could you explain, like, for those that maybe don't understand, what that means, the feminine in us?
yeah. So I suppose the easiest way to describe it is like that very sensitive part within us, like that, the feeling part of us, like the very sensitive, tender, emotional side of us. some might identify it with it as, an easier way to describe it would be the soul, like the soul in us. And then I suppose like another reference point that people are probably familiar with is like the inner child.
Yeah.
And so that inner child in us has been
Mm.
not fully supported, not fully seen, not fully, tended to by, how life has been because it's been in separation consciousness. So it's like the parts of us that are the most sensitive are the inner babe, which is the inner baby, and the inner child. And so those parts of us haven't been like, they've almost been suppressed. They have been suppressed. So it's like we haven't been able to access them. And then that's been seen in how society is set up. It hasn't been supportive to those sensitive parts to us, sensitive parts of us. And I'll give a practical example of what that looks like in terms of, what does that actually mean? It's like, say, in birth, there hasn't been the awareness and the deep sensitivity of like the mother and the baby. So it's been like, the baby is born, they're cutting the cord straight away, they're taking the baby away, they're washing the baby, instead of actually understanding like the deep sensitivity of the baby, and that's in that place of just emerging. And also the mother, and how the mother needs to be in a cocoon for the first 6 weeks after birth. That hasn't been seen in our society because these parts of us have been not available to us. So
Oh,
they haven't been seen because they have literally been like submerged, suppressed, hidden, out of sight. But they've been in
right.
the they've always been there. But they're now coming into, they want to be expressed. They want to be seen. And that's why we are now, especially the women like us who are very sensitive, we are feeling the call that we have to now have spaces to be seen, to be held, to be nurtured, for these sensitive parts of us to be fully like here in the room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I have two things I'd like to say. Like, so often you hear people say, what did you like to do when you were a child? And like when you're a child, the interests you had often are what you end up doing
Yeah.
because maybe that is what you were meant to do, whatever
Yeah. Literally.
that child was so into. Like, I was just always playing babies, mummies and babies, like all the time. The only thing I played. And um, I loved that. It's I wish I could go back and see myself with
Mm.
my little double buggy and my little twins.
Oh, that's so
Um,
sweet.
I know. But what was I going to say about the inner child?
Hmm.
Also, the inner child is so connected to the mystery of life.
Yeah.
And it's important that, one of the things that meditation does, it connects us to that as well, because we're like, wow, it is a mystery. And
Hmm.
that is really important because we can get too like caught up in kind of the worldly stuff
Yeah.
rather than like, here I am having this experience, and I should just enjoy it as much as I can, and be practicing enjoying it, practicing being the embodiment of what I want to see in the world. That's like a big part of what I try to embody. And the other thing I was going to say was about the postnatal. I just wanted to touch on that and like
Mm.
women staying in like resting.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's absolutely barbaric that it's that's not the norm, that
I
women
know.
are resting. And I feel really um drawn to supporting women postpartum. So I have put together um I've been a nanny for a few years now, so I've been cooking for these families, and thank most of the families they've had babies. So that's been such an amazing experience for me to gain knowledge about babies. And also just being a nanny, just would love to mention about this for a moment. It's such an interesting job because the family I work for now actually said to me a few months ago, yeah, God, it must be really interesting to get like an insight into people's lives because you're in their house, you're in their home, you're part of their family, and you do get such an insight. And I feel, yeah, it's such a privilege, but it's also taught me so much about like what is needed to support a family to thrive, and being that like being a support, being a nanny, it feels so natural to me. And it feels so, so good to be supporting anyone but a family, you know? So just wanted to mention that too.
That's beautiful. And it's also given you like that real, like deep understanding of what is actually needed for you in that role of supporting in the postpartum. You know, it's like it's actually invaluable experience for you to have that because you're not just coming from theory of like, oh, this is what I think a woman would need, or this is what a baby would need. But it's like, no, you've got so much lived experience to know kind of step into that next step of it, of coming in the postpartum and really bringing that deep support, that deep nourishment and that space holding and that reverence to that golden portal. You know, it's like this golden time where,
Mm.
you know, because I remember like just you're so open. It's like you're so in the divine with your baby. And it's like that needs to be fully supported so that the woman can relax into it and fully receive that medicine in that time because that is what is going to restore her. It restores her whole body. It restores her mind. You know, it's like bringing her into her whole state as a mother. And that's so essential. And so yeah, the postpartum work that you're bringing as well is like so key. And I'm just even thinking of, you know, the next time I have a baby, I would love to have you there. I'd love to have you coming in
Yeah,
and be like,
I'll have to move in with you down in Kerry.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm booking you in from this date to this date. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, you
I
know,
really want that for women. You know, even me, whenever I have a baby, I would
yeah,
love to have that.
yeah,
And you deserve it. You absolutely deserve. You know, we have this narrative of like, oh, like don't be taking all the help or get back on
hmm
your feet or like I can do this by myself. It's just like it's such bullshit, excuse the
yeah,
language, but
it is.
like
Yeah,
nobody nobody is meant to live this life by themselves and not be supported, clearly. So, especially at this time, you have just created life. So,
yeah, so essential. And it's like, and it's not in the capacity of like a nuclear family to be able to do that on their own. It's just not. It's like it's just too much. So you do need to have, you know, it's like we're recreating the village now of support and with having you stepping in and offering that space and that service for the postpartum period is such an amazing investment for the family's health. And, you know, people think, oh my gosh, I can't afford to like pay out for this because that's expensive. And, you know, but it's like, it's actually, it's viewing it through, it's an investment in the family's long-term health because how a woman goes through her postpartum period really will be reflected in how she goes through her menopause. So
mm,
if she is drained and depleted, you know, adrenally and her kidney energy is low, that's going to show up like down the line. You know, even just after the postpartum period, it can show up as anxiety, can show up as depression when the mother is not properly nourished. Um, so it's very, very important that we bring this awareness back to the culture and we start living this because it's yeah, this is how we thrive. Like this is how we thrive because this is the foundation. Like how the family is created on that foundation is setting the trajectory. It's yeah, it's for the whole family. So yeah, it's like
wow.
taking all these beautiful concepts of like, yeah, we're restoring wholeness and but how do we live that? Like and
Yes,
how do we
grounding the
actually
vision.
how do we live this like on a day-to-day level and how do we bring this into
Yeah, it's like coming back to the thing I said about embodying the change you want to see in the world. And how can you ground the vision you have, ground that change? And I feel so like lit up hearing you say that about the village and like I just really want like part of my on my website I have written I want all beings to feel safe, held, loved, and supported always. And I think that is absolutely possible when we come together and also when we reconnect to our own wholeness and to the divine.
yeah, and that's what you're doing like with your work. So let everyone know where they can find you, where they can learn about your offerings and your women's circles, all the things that you have going at the moment.
Okay, yeah, so I do hold a monthly women's circle. I'm in Nace in Kildare in Ireland. I have an Instagram. My website is on the Instagram. I'm sure you'll put it in the description.
Yeah, we'll put all the
My
links
business
below.
is called Cree Croga Holistic, which is Irish for brave heart. And what else? Yeah, I'm going to be putting together a few different things like to support pregnant women and like a meditation course maybe to support them in their embodiment and to relax and truly enjoy the magic of creating life.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy that you're here on this planet right now and doing this work. And yeah, it's such a joy to get to know your story on a deeper level and to hear how it all began and how it's unfolding and just how aligned you are and how trusting you are of your path. It's just such an affirmation to me as well on my path as well, because it's like there's no other option. Like we're awakening, it's happening, it's coming through us, like it's birthing, and it's just like what your the name of your business. It's like you have to have the brave heart, you have to have the courage, you have to trust in the calling. Like
Yeah.
we are being called, like all of us are being called, and those who are
And those of us that I'd love to just say, like those of us that say things like, oh, I don't have any gifts. Oh, like you have all of these talents and like, oh, I just want to be like, that's not true. You know, that's also a story of like, I don't know what I meant to do. Obviously, there's phases we go through and we don't really know the direction, but following what interests you, is a great first step. And
mm,
meditation. And coming to a
mhm.
women's circle.
Yeah, exactly. Get all these in, and then it's just providing the conditions for your full blossoming, for what's in you to just be fully expressed, really, isn't it? And it's yeah, it's just so wonderful that you're here. So yeah, anyone who wants to check out Ashling, you'll see all the links below this video. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today and for joining us.
Thank you, Ashley.
Smiling